Welcome to Podtendo, a Nintendo podcast, where they analyze, reminisce, and replay the glory of old Nintendo games.
With elemental magic at your command, battle dark forces in the first chapter of Goblins for Game Boy Advance. Rated E for everyone.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Podtendo podcast, where we analyze, reminisce, and replay the glory of old Nintendo games. We contact on Twitter at Podtendo Podcast. Email us at podtendo@gmail.com. No one has ever done that. Or other socials. Check us out. Probably not going to respond on other socials. And that's it. I'm your co-host, Mick. You can find me on Twitter. No, I don't say that here. I say it on a different show. I'm your co-host, Mick. Every episode with my lovely and talented co-host,
Tyson.
Yay! Yay! And we get to finally end. That's it. The months of suffering. I feel like maybe we slipped another game in because we weren't ready to play this game just yet. So Golden Sun, Part 2. Hopefully from 2 months ago, you remember Part 1. Because as we were talking before we recorded, I don't remember what I said. I don't remember what my experience was with this game in the first part. So I really hope the tone works for these two parts. And yeah, go from there. So cool. Welcome back.
Yeah, good to be back. I feel like it's always a little tricky when we play so many games. So some of it just kind of blurs, and especially if it's been a few weeks or even a few months, and then you go back and play something, you're just like, or like go back and try to talk about it, you're like, I don't exactly remember what happened. A lot's happened in the last 2 months. My brain is so small, I can only remember so much.
Well, that's it. I see it. We have a story recap in the notes, which is great, because I was really hoping we did that, because I couldn't tell you what we did in the first part of the show, but we can. I believe I kind of cut it in two parts too. We did our Wayback Machine, cultural significance. I think we have a cultural significance here, but it's less exciting. So really, we're just talking down and dirty details of this fun game, development details, level notes, ending. That's kind of it. That's kind of get over this experience. So if you were a Golden Sun stan, you should be satisfied. Anyone else? It's just a regular Podtendo fan. We're going to try our best to not just be Debbie Downers all day and poop on this game and go from there. So that's fun. You don't want poop on your podcast.
Yep, we'll try to be entertaining, but
cool.
You know.
All right. Off the top, finished. How about a one-sentence review? So, Rings of Power has been out for a little bit, probably close to the ending when this comes out. Maybe like the penultimate episodes. We're not there just yet as we're recording. But we did do Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings trilogy we liked. Ring of Power, one-word review, Tyson. How do you feel about Rings of Power?
Good.
Yeah, I'm liking. I think it is a closer addendum to the Jackson films than the Hobbit films. And I could not be happier.
Yeah. I know some people have kind of like questioned some of the budgeting, but I think that it's quite good.
I think so. I think I could use it as a compendium piece to potentially watch that and then get back into the Peter Jackson films, which is perfect. That's all I want. I just want the Peter Jackson films to remain like spotless, and I feel like The Hobbit put a big stain on them. So if we can kind of clean up the image a little bit of that original trilogy, that's kind of what I'm looking for. And that so far, I think the series is doing a really good job of making me want to return to the other series, right? And like rewatch the Jackson films with a new light. You couldn't ask for more.
Totally. And I guess like Lord of the Rings, the universe of Lord of the Rings or Tolkien, is just lends itself really well to like segmentation, where it's like you can look at like the book trilogy and then you can look at just the book The Hobbit, or you can look at them all together, or you can look at just Lord of the Rings movies, and then you could look at just the Hobbit movies. You can just kind of forget it. You could even go back and look at the animated one, which is not terrible.
Sure.
So it's like there's all these like. And I guess the Amazon's just kind of more content. It's just visual content of the expanded lore. So if you ever were like interested in that, you're like, or like had a passing interest, you're like, I'd like to see this play out and kind of like what happens. It doesn't need to be like, this is exactly what always happened. forbid
Yeah, yeah.
anything else. And I think that's where sometimes Disney got their hands slapped with Star Wars. It's like, this is the new canon. It's like, just let people have their own like little worlds and let imagination flow.
Cool. All right. Nice. There we go. Stamp on Lord of the Rings. But back to Golden Sun, because, oh boy, can't wait to talk about this game. Definitely not going on a diatribe about anything else. Golden Sun Part 2. And again, 2 months ago, we've seen Part 1. Do they pair well together? Only time will tell. Do we have a nice wine and cheese and grape pairing for you? Or are we giving you craft dinner with throw up? I don't know. We'll find out. Oh, that's disgusting. Why would I say that? Why would I say that? Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Fish and red wine. Think of fish and red wine instead of what Mick said.
Yeah, just something. Craft dinner and a nice can of, like, diet Sprite, which is horrendous. Never drink diet Sprite. Awful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Either that or, like...
development details.
Tonic water.
No, just development details. Camelot software planning. Great. It sold 1.65 million copies. Hooray. I have 2 of them, so you're welcome. Release date, November 12th, 2001. Cool. How long to beat has the game at 22 hours. I wonder how long I played this game for. Probably more than that. Price release was $49.99. If you factor in inflation, that's $61.61 today. Wow. On eBay, you can get a copy of this game for $50 to $200. And if I have 2 copies that I purchased recently, you can do the math and figure I've probably spent over $100 to buy this game. What's wrong with me? On eShop, it'd be $99 on the Wii U. You can play it on the original card, an emulator, or a Wii U. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I think that this is... Yeah, I'm happy that this game's sort of available in the used market and it's not overly priced because, you know, you might be needing to buy another game to finish this game.
Oh, yeah.
So
I mean,
I'm happy it's semi-available,
right.
But it bums me out. It's only available on the Wii U eShop.
Yeah, the Switch just their virtual Nintendo and their virtual consoles are just so bad. So bad.
They just refuse to release games they have access to. And they're like, no, for the next year, you're going to get 5 games.
Now,
like,
on the opposite side, if a company put out tons of free content for a subscription-based gaming service, I don't think that's the better method either. And I might be taking a shot at the other company later on in this episode. So everyone sucks. Development details, though. So they spent 12 to 18 months developing this game. Which was a long time for a handheld title. Camelot was no stranger to RPGs, have previously worked on Shining Force and Mario Golf and Tennis for Nintendo, each which has light RPG elements. They originally planned to create a single title for the N64, but when it became apparent the N64 was being replaced by the GameCube, they shifted focus to the GBA. Due to hardware limitations, the game went from 1 to 2 games. Like Shining Force 3, the story would be told from both the good and bad narratives. So maybe we can play as the antagonists in the sequel? I don't know what that... Maybe that was me adding something? Because you definitely play as the antagonists in the sequel. A major goal with Golden Sun was to make the game's magic usable outside of battles for puzzles and offer players an even high level of freedom in which how to approach events, rather than a linear story that could be only experienced one way. The game was meant to be a launch title, but slipped to the summer and was released in Japan in August of 2001. Wow. So, like Tyson alluded to, this is only half a story. We're gonna go through today's show, and it's just gonna be disappointment.
Yep. Do you like movies that leave you on a cliffhanger, but not like a semi makes you think cliffhanger, like Inception, one of those bad cliffhangers,
like not an ambiguous cliffhanger,
like Pirates of the Caribbean 2.
Yeah, where you're kind of like, oh, you got to see the next movie to find out what happens with this heart, because
it's like, hey, we're all gonna rally for this big battle next time. We're like, you bastards.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense if it's hardware limitations. Like, it obviously meant to be one game. I don't want to do this, but I kind of want to play the sequel to this game for next year. I don't know why I want to torture.
You're killing me, man.
Well, it gives us a break. It gives us a break. We played RPG for next year, and then we can hit Final Fantasy 9 maybe the following year. Like, because what are we in year 7? Like, year 9, we should do Final Fantasy 9 for year 9. Look at that. Look at that marketing I just came up with.
That's fair.
9 years we've been doing this podcast for. We've accomplished nothing. Well, I mean, we're only at 7 years. But in 2 years, we're not going to have accomplished anything. God damn.
Yeah, well, we covered some games and had some fun.
The existential dread of my life is starting to sink in a little bit as I get further and further into this podcast. So that's fun. So You at least have an oral history of a man who's like slowly just becoming more and more nihilist. So there you go.
Well, welcome to Podtendo.
Podtendo. So what happened last time in this fun game? So the game opens with a storm, the loss of our parents, and a friend before jumping years later. Our group helps out an old man, explores a temple, releases some spiritual stones after being tricked by the bad guys, and must set off to explore and return the stones. We stop some bandits, meet a friend, explore a tree, a cave, and make our way across a snowy tundra to a little town called Imil. Hey, I kind of remember what happened in the first part of this game. Good job, me.
Yeah, I was going to say that story recap really hey, caught me up. I know exactly where we are. I'm just about to go into the Mercury Lighthouse, which...
oh my gosh, which is
this was so long ago. I finished this before part 1, so I was like, oh my goodness, I definitely didn't time this out correctly.
No, me not in the slightest. Like, I should have played more or less, but the summer's tough, because like I don't want to just sit and play video games, and you're outside, and... Alright, so I think I've got this, there's about 20 parts, and each 5 sections or so, I ask a random question. So let's buckle in, see what we can get through, and then we can, I don't know, talk something random. So level notes. We're into it, guys. 10 minutes into the podcast. It's amazing. Soon after entering the lighthouse, we meet our last party member, Maya. You have to solve some puzzles that involve hidden doors behind waterfalls. I remember that. A stupid puzzle where the key is... You have to use Maya's ply on a statue. I also remember that part. And at the end of the level, we end up in a magical area on top of the lighthouse, and we have to fight a boss, Satros. He isn't too bad, because apparently he's greatly affected by water spells, and he's weakened. Oh, and then afterwards, some woman shows up, says that Satros was only weakened because of the water lighthouse, and leaves. No idea who she was. She comes back. Yeah, it's good times. So there you go. Mercury Lighthouse, Tyson. How was that?
It's all right. I mean, it's a nice little water theme. I'm glad it's not like swimming through water. It's just like there's like waterfalls and water theme that way. But yeah, puzzles aren't super like these are maybe some of the weaker puzzles, but I mean they aren't like painful. So
yeah.
All
right.
Yeah.
Let's see. So I love the water puzzles, the jumping water puzzles. Oh yeah, because you can charge your little guy up and you can jump on the water like 3 times or something like that before you sink. Added kind of a little element. I think the best part of this game is just, like I said in the last one, dungeon puzzles. They're kind of Zelda-light. They're neat. Everything else is kind of subpar. And annoys me. Awesome. Great. So, Kolima Forest. If you didn't save the forest before, grab some spring water, fight through the trees, give the spring water to the tree at the end, and he is saved. All the tree people... Oh, by the way, you can definitely leave the lighthouse without getting the spring water, and then get to this tree, and then have to go all the way back, which is really annoying. And this game does that a lot. Oh, there's a key item here? We're not going to tell you need it. Go explore. You're going to be frustrated that you don't have this, maybe a key item or a magical spell later.
Yeah, and I swear some of the level grinding comes from, you didn't do the backtracking? Uh-huh. Oh, you didn't do the backtracking? Oh, okay, well then you're going to get just like slapped upside the head.
Yeah. But... all of the tree people, so you went to this town and there was this village, and there was just a bunch of tree people there. They're all now people, and you can get some pretty good equipment. So that's great. And my note is, it sucks to not get spring water. Yeah. And then from there, we head to the Fuchin Temple. Why not? So probably it's the only place we can go. I kind of feel like it's like to the east of Kolima or something like that. We have to go over a mountain range. I think that's where we're headed next. So Fuchin Temple. So at the next area, we are tasked at learning a new spell. Maybe it's like mind read. First, we have to complete the trials behind a waterfall. We have to jump across water, find a dragon's eye to pass over an invisible bridge, and maybe light up a room to get a stone. So the master will teach you force.
Oh yeah, I kind of remember this level. It's kind of fun.
Yeah,
so.
I didn't hate it. I think the dungeons in this game are done really well. Like if they would have just given you put all the key items in a treasure chest that you had to find in the temples, this would be literally a JRPG version of Zelda. The greatest thing that this game does is it doesn't freaking tell you when you need stuff, and that's going to be a reoccurring theme, and it's bullshit. But other than that, like, I kind of remember liking this area. Like, there was the whole hidden bridge and like the lighting, and like, it was neat.
Yeah, definitely one of those areas where it felt fun to complete. It does give that like mini Zelda vibe. I just think it's way too much spell management, and like it starts to get like hey, I spend more time in menus than I do in the game. Why?
Oh, 100%. And at this point, I think I was still just using basic attacks, so my guys were strong enough. Maybe I'd done some grinding, or I had good enough equipment that I could just like kill most of the enemies with just my attacks. That's my strategy. Wasn't using magic at this point. Wasn't using spells so much. Just using attack. So I'll tell you kind of where my strategy was at each part of the game, because sometimes it changes. And oh my gosh! So then we get to go to a Mogul Forest. So I felt like this place kind of has again a Zelda Lost Woods maze at the beginning, and then some light rolling puzzles. Great. At the end, we see a goblin stomp away from a tree stump, and then you have to fight a bigger goblin. It wasn't really an issue. What was the deal with the small goblin? Did he steal something? I know there was a djinn in this area that I didn't find, because I was like, oh, maybe I'll come back. You don't ever come back. If you see a djinn in an area, find it, because they really make the end of this game a lot easier. So, any issues with the Lost Woods, not Lost Woods?
Nothing that stands out to me.
Yeah, all right.
But I feel like you could easily get confused, because if you don't hit the right stupid stump, then I think it resets.
Interesting.
But I don't know.
Oh, there was something like that. Anyway, so then we go to Zion. So you can stay at an inn, you get some new gear, and in the temple, if you force push a log, it triggers a cutscene that unlocks the path forward. I believe something like the temple's master, or the temple master's daughter. At some point, if like log knocks over, she comes out and she's like, "Oh, I need to look for my friend," and then she takes off. I definitely messed up the log thing a few times.
Yeah, and it's super not obvious. Like, it's just this. Looks like a tree in the middle, like just on the outskirts of the river, and you gotta like drag it towards you. And it's like, oh, that was the key all along. You're like, what a random the conveyance of this game some days.
Yeah, it's not super. I feel like they need a little more time to polish, and they took 18 months. Come on, guys. So then we get to go to Alpine Crossing, and you guys are like, man, this is the best podcast about two guys vaguely reading about a video game that they played 3.5 months ago and not having any sniff of what's going on ever. And thank you for saying that. That's very kind. We take that to heart. So Alpine Crossing. So the path forward is blocked. So we head north to Atlan. It's a mining town that is flooded. You have to solve some puzzles and take down take down water spewing monsters. Great. There are 3 to 5 of the monsters that you have to defeat, so you can unlock a boulder that creates a big hole in a room, revealing an ancient temple and the biggest fish thing. It's not so bad if you use some summons. So at this point, I was kind of equipping all my little djinn guys and just like spamming summons. You get the lift gem, and you can learn lift. I had to redo this temple because I didn't know where to go, and like I got almost to the end, and then I like left rather than queuing the big rolling boulder. I don't know what my mission was. It was just great, awesome conveyance. I probably didn't get the lift gem either, which you probably need for something else.
Yeah, you definitely. I think it's just some extra equipment. But yeah, I don't know. This is kind of like the game just kind of drags at some spots.
Oh yeah,
and it just feels like it's just samey.
Yep.
And you're always just unlocking a new spell to do other things. It was mind reading before, now it's lift, and you're like, really wish I wasn't getting a million of these things, and there was actually like a reason to have these things, unless it's like, hey, this one room, you're gonna need it.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's like literally every spell in this game. You're like, you don't have lift, or is it called lift? Carry, or like, oh, you don't have carry. You can't move this one random block. Well, you didn't go into that secret room in that temple you walked by. Psh, dummy, you're gonna be lost for an hour. All right, so random question time. So quarter of the way through the notes, thank goodness. So you win the lottery. Apparently, you live in this game, and you get to build a giant mansion and live in this game. Which area do you live in? Now, again, this is something we're trying just to break up the monotony of the level notes. So we can have a little bit of a side tangent that's like focused somewhat at this game. I don't know exactly what the best questions are. We talked like hooks and like better movie or series. And this is you get to live in some area of the game. Do you have a favorite area in this game?
I'd probably be living with the giant tree.
Okay. Yeah.
That's kind of like, but it'd be like pretty brutal to be like, I'm gonna build a giant mansion made out of wood.
Wow, you're gonna be like, yeah, okay.
But it's definitely not the Mercury town, because everybody there is dying.
Yep.
And like it's called Mercury, so I feel like that water ain't clean.
Okay. Yep.
The other place, wasn't there a place that's on fire? Or is that coming up?
That probably is coming up. But yeah, like there was like a desert area, and then there's like a little town on the other side of a desert, and you're kind of abandoned. You probably don't want to live there. And there's lots of mountain ranges that look treacherous. You don't want to do that. You don't want to be in the spot where like monsters come and can just like drown your house. So you probably don't want to live near mine.
Or you don't want to live on side of a mountain where giant rocks just come rolling down you.
I might live in like the place where the Coliseum is, because I feel like that'd be like good sports, right? You can go watch guys do sports. Maybe there.
No, actually, that's probably the best play.
Okay.
There's actually infrastructure.
Yeah.
I still think it's funny to build a giant mansion
made out of wood. Yeah, no, that's you win that one. That's perfect. All right, cool. So Tyson's gonna live with the trees in Kolima in a giant wooden house. Yikes, that's awkward. So then we get to go to Lama Temple. Okay, so apparently there's a cutscene. Oh, so you go at the end of the whatever, you fight the big fish. You're at this temple. You have lift. You go to the other side, and you're like, hooray! Apparently there's a cutscene here with Ivan and Master Hamma. Your guess is as good as mine. You're rereading a strategy guide while doing these notes. I found out that someone with lift here, and it affects what happens next in the sequel games. So apparently there are like some side missions where you can talk to people and help them out, and it changes what happens in the next game. Now, let's see what my note is. I don't like this game, but I feel like I may do myself a disservice if I didn't play the sequel. So maybe next February, March. Keep your ears open, because we might be playing Golden Sun 2, because we love this game so much.
And we didn't get enough of it the first time, where we had to like take this game we were going to do in one episode, and we were dragging our butts so hard that we had to do it in 2.
Yeah, we suck.
No, it's not our fault, man. This game is boring. It's all fetch quests. Like, it's fetch quests and some puzzle dungeons, and you're just like, my God.
And you have no idea. Like, there's a part coming up where I talked to a lady, and it was a full-on conversation. My whole party came out, and I answered like yes or no to all these questions. I have no idea what it was. Like, I didn't take the time to actually read. I was just kind of like spamming. I was watching a movie. No idea what I signed up for, and like I just don't care. Like, I moved on with my life, and I was like, who cares? But like, clearly, I did something that's going to affect the sequel. So a game like this, if it was done better, it'd be kind of neat. Right? Because it'd be like, oh, you could have like different endings, and like, oh, you didn't save that man, or like help that girl, so like she's not here to help you do this in the sequel. Sounds awesome, but it's like just done so poorly.
Yeah, it's always an ambitious feature. But I mean, after playing Mass Effect, it's just like, oh God, so many other games do this so wrong.
Yeah.
And even Mass Effect doesn't really nail it. But there's certain things that are cool. Like, there's a alien race that you might save, and if you choose to save them, they come back in a later episode or later games. Like, that's pretty cool. This is so not haphazard, where it just feels like arbitrary. Like, oh hey, and it feels like you almost need to like play the whole game and then go back and make like fiddly decisions. But it's I don't feel the impact of any of these decisions, so you just kind of tune out of the conversations, because people will just talk back and forth like, what do you think, Isaac? Oh, I think this. What do you think, Felix? Oh, I think this. And it just goes on.
It's not only that, but like these conversations are long and drawn out, but then based on how you respond. So I just hit B, which gives me the negative response. And sometimes I get stuck in a loop where I'll look down and like my characters are just like, oh, don't you think we should help? And I'm like, no, I don't think so. They're like, oh, come on, Isaac, we could definitely help, don't you think? And I say no. And they're like, oh, Isaac, come on, definitely don't. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I spent 5 minutes just hitting this button, going in this like loop, because I should be hitting A, not B.
Yes.
All right, cool. So then we're on to the Lamancan Desert. Using Reveal, you can find Oasis to cool you down as you run across the treacherous desert. What a cool mechanic. What a great mechanic. You get really hot and you get hurt unless you use magic to find Oasis. Is great. There's a hidden djinn here. At the end of the 3 to 4 screen desert, we fight the boss, Manticore. He wasn't super tough. He did kill Garrett, and I think that was actually the first time one of my characters died. Or maybe it was or even Ivan. Either way, this is the first party death of the game. So I literally had no other character. I had to go to a sanctuary, revive them after this, and I was like, oh, maybe this game is like kind of difficult. So up into this part, it was like almost mindless. I was just battling using summons, disregard for those things. So did you like the desert?
Yeah, it was fun. This is one of the strong parts of the game.
Well, the fact that I can say something like Reveal and Oasis, you're like, oh, I remember that part of that game. Cool.
Yep. Kind of gave me Earthbound vibes.
Yep.
But I dig a good desert in a game. So
Nice.
yeah, I really like this area.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Alright, cool. So then on Clay, so in this new town, there's some more equipment upgrades, and that's always great. When every 20 minutes you're finding a new town where you have to like grind some money. Yeah, that's what we want. You can talk to a lady in a big house. This is it. And she talks to you about something. I wasn't paying attention. Ivan seemed really invested in this conversation. And he's like, hey, man, we should do this. And I, like, whatever. So before you go, make sure you cue a cutscene with a tour group that heads to a dock. Otherwise, you just get stuck and you can't do anything. So I care so little about these characters in the world that I'm interacting with that I have zero idea what occurred here. I didn't care to look it up. Did I sign up for a side quest? Maybe. Who cares? Great. Awesome.
I think it's just another fetch quest, as that's all this is.
So if I go find something, I might have that item. If I just went and talked to that lady, she's like, oh my god, you found my gem. Here you go. Here's a hat.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, either that or some things causing issues, and you got to go. I know it's like everybody's like obsessed with this lady, and she's kind of comes off as a jerk, if I'm not mistaken. Or am I thinking of a different stuck-up lady, a stuck-up queen in this game?
I think it's just a lady in a house. I don't think she's a queen, but all right. Now we get to go one of the parts that I hated this part. So we're on to the Kalay dock. So now we're talking to this lady that maybe is important, maybe not. So once the tour group is queued up, you can buy a boat ticket, and you're on a boat. And you have to ask yourself, why am I doing this to myself? I'm a good person. I have lots to live for. Why am I playing Golden Sun? You have to painstakingly cue the captain to get his lucky anchor stolen. Find it, and then you watch the ship get ready to go. You watch some monsters attack, fight them, then find a crew member to replace them for the rower. And you have to do that 4 times. Except the 4th time is the boss, Kraken. So he gets to attack twice per turn. He throws everything you have at him, heal, and good luck. Replaying this slow-moving, not exciting boat scene 3 times killed me inside. So I'm actually a little more dead than I was before I started playing this game because of this stupid fight. And I had to redo the whole thing. So you have to buy the ticket, you have to go talk to the captain, you have to find the stolen anchor, you have to watch a stupid cutscene of these monsters that go downstairs and like knock out one of the rowers, because like these monsters are so inept, they know exactly where to go. And then you have to go talk to someone, and like I made an old man and like a woman and like a pregnant woman row the boat. Like I don't know if there's like good people and bad people. I just don't know. Tyson, how many times did the Kraken kill you?
Like I think twice. But this game, oh my goodness, it was so. This was a part where me and you both kind of got stuck. I got stuck on here, and I just like had zero ambition to pick this game up again and work my way through it. Side note: that lady in Calais or whatever, that's like Ivan's mom or something, or foster mom.
What does Ivan's mom want you to do? Great.
Probably go look for somebody.
Okay. Cool.
And then the whole like, and after a certain like, it's just the scenes are so boring.
Yes.
I'm kind of just stuttering over my words, but unfortunately, it just like you'll walk into a room and be like, how about these 4 people? These 4 people? Yeah, these 4 people that are gonna help us like do this. Oh, I don't know if these 4 young people could do. And like, please stop.
Yes.
Just let me continue. And it'll just be like they tried to build like the universe by having like actual dialogue and stuff. So the writing's not bad in that sense, but it's just kills the pacing, and you just stop wanting to read and listen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
sometimes one time you kill the Kraken and you're like, hooray. So once you're off the ship, there's not much to do in the Tolby docks. That's where we're at. So I was happy to be back on dry land, and then I just head right to Tolby. So you can get some more, of course, equipment for your characters. If you have saved lucky medals, you can play a throwing game to get some good armor in this like dragon pond. I don't really know how it works, but I definitely got some good armor there, so that's pretty exciting. There's something here with a dice mini game, and you place to cash in your game tickets if you've been collecting those. So sometimes when you buy equipment, they'll give you like a game ticket, and this is the place where you come and you get rid of those. There's also a tournament going on. You can either enter the palace, learn of a missing leader, and make your way into the Colosseum to view some feats of strength. The inn is full, and I was hurting, so I found some bed in the palace. Oh no, this is that part. Oh my gosh. So this is a very frustrating part of the game. All right, so the inn is full. and I was hurting. So I had to go find a bed in the palace. First, you have to talk to a girl in a room. Then she moves a little bit closer to the beds. And she's like, oh, do you want to stay here? I say, yeah, for sure. So she stands there. And then you have to talk to her again. And then she says, oh, well, I guess these are the beds you could sleep in. You then have to talk to the bed rather than your party just going to sleep. You have to say, yes, we're going to sleep. And then all the party comes out, each one, and they have to say something. Well, I guess I'm going to sleep now. And you're like, yes, Ivan, you are going to sleep. And then Mai says, well, I guess I'll be going to sleep. And you say, yes, Mai, you'll be going to sleep. And then Garrett comes out and he says, well, I guess I'll be going to sleep. And you say, yes, just stop wasting my time. I don't like this game anymore. I hate it.
Yeah. And it's just monotonous. And you're like, why must I do these things? And it feels so just drawn out.
Yeah. So between, where were we? The Lama Temple and Tolby, it killed me a little bit. Up in this part, I was like, oh, this game's kind of interesting. It maybe gets a little bit better after this, but like not much. Still, all right, how about time for random questions? Let's save us from our misery. If you could choose one character's movesets from a video game in real life, who would you choose?
From this game?
No, just any video game across the whole world. You get granted a wish, and they say you can have one character's moveset, so you can move like that character. So, like, for example, I might choose like a Mario 64, because like imagine just being able to like run around and just like long jump and just like random. It's like I'm just gonna jump like 20 feet, and you can just like jump down the road or backflip up onto roofs. You know, you can go swimming, and you know you can swim underwater, and then as soon as you come up, you're like fully healed. So even if you fell off a big roof and you were hurt, you just like jump into a lake and you'd be fine. What characters' movesets would you most like?
I mean, my default would be like grab a mutant from one of the X-Men games, but I'm gonna go kind of out there. I want Michael Jordan's moveset from NBA Jam. Be able to dunk from like half court, like, but you're also Michael Jordan.
No, you don't. I'm not saying like you become that person. I'm just saying.
No, but I mean, but you would have their skill set. So I would have Michael Jordan's skill set. It would be like Space Jam, but I would be able to like have like Looney Tune physics of being able to dunk from half
so
court.
You can go to Dallas, walk onto the court one day in a practice, and be like, hey guys, check this out, and be like dunking from center and like being on fire and stuff. And they're like, you want to give me a contract for $1 billion? And you just become rich.
Yep.
Neat. All right. And I would just go and yoo-hoo, and like awkwardly doing long jumps down the stairs so I could like zip up really quickly and hit walls. Cool. All right.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. I'm glad I got some time to simmer on that one, because I was like, NBA Jam.
Perfect. Great. All right. So now we go after we're done whatever we were doing, and we wake up and we're like, oh man, I'm so excited that I finally slept. And they're like, yes, I'm also excited that I slept. Good morning. And then Ivan comes over and says, hello, Isaac. I am now awake too. And you say, okay, great. And then Mai's like, oh, I also slept last night in a bed. And you're like, yes, Mai, I know. I can see. You don't have to tell me what the actions are. This game's graphics are actually.
Do you want breakfast? Oh, I could eat breakfast.
Oh my gosh,
what kind of breakfast things would you like? Please.
All right, so we're going to go to the Altmiller Caves. Near the entrance, we find an invisible man on the ground. Okay, cool. So we have to solve a puzzle, find a djinn, make our way through some colored rock puzzles. I think I just looked at the answer to that one, which gives us a restoring draft, and then you can save the invisible man, who is the leader of Tolby. Wow.
Yeah, I definitely just cheated on the rock puzzle, too. Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention, in Tolby, when you're doing the ring puzzle thing, or the lucky coin thing, maybe a good time to abuse some saves, because you can get some really good gear there.
Well, I hit lots of bullseyes. I hit lots of bullseyes with my lucky. Like I had, say, at 8, I probably hit 5 bullseyes.
Yeah.
Without.
Well, I think the thing that generates is random. So even if you do hit a bullseye, you don't know if you got the right item that you wanted. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's like a thief's thing that does like a crazy amount of damage and some.
Yeah, I feel like I had, or it was like an assassin's blade that sometimes like develops instant death. So I got that, so that's good. All right, so then we go to the Colosso. So we're still in, I think, the town called Tolby. Now we met the leader of Tolby, and this is where my house is going to be because we can talk sports. So we were tasked to competing and winning the tournament. Hooray! We have to race against 3 enemies before fighting them. Your team can help you in the race, but the prizes aren't that special. Kind of a neat part of the game. Some of them I didn't get. Like once in a while I had like Garrett cheering me on, and like, what does Garrett want to do? And literally there was nothing. So I was like, I don't know. Anyway, so I found the second and third fights could be a bit hard, but somehow I grinded through. And every time you die, you just wake up in bed, and all your characters standing around you. I'm like, wow, Isaac, you were having one crazy dream. Well, guess what? The tournament hasn't even started yet. You better get going. So they just treat your last play session as your dream, and it's only real if you win.
Well, that seems like the Matrix.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it seems, I mean, neat, I guess, but whatever. So, Gondolin Cave. So, afterwards, we can head southeast. We find a cave, solve a puzzle, and we can return to Vale and get Halt. All right, so you have to go all the way back to the beginning of the game. The Vale's where we're from, and you can get Halt now that you have something. And you need Halt, because if you don't have Halt, you can't, like, do something. You can't find a gin later in the game, and like maybe there's like it's like a key item to solving the Crossbone Island puzzle, so you have to get Halt. Otherwise you're in the middle of the Crossbones Island and you have to stop and go all the way back here. So
yep, because that's a nice part when you literally have been like on this long journey only to have to travel all the way back home.
Well, if they said that,
come all the way
like
back.
At some point they stopped and they said, Isaac, we should really go home. I feel like someone at home has like an item for us or something, right? Or like maybe we can get our legendary Veil armor. Cool, great. I might be compelled. At no point did they tell you to go home. There's a shortcut, but like, why would I ever return to the first area in the game? There's nothing about that, but you need a key item so you can like get things later on. It's just.
Especially in a game that has so much dialogue.
Yeah.
Like, you can easily just sort in, like, hey, at this part of the game, have characters be like, hey, I miss my mom. I'm getting homesick.
Something.
Like, it'll kind of drop you a hint.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder what, like, my mom's doing up to. I know she was sick last time I saw her or something.
Anything. Just even like, oh, you get a cold, and you have a cold, and the only thing that can heal it is mom's chicken soup. I should go see mom. Or you could keep playing the game and have a cold, but like, if you went home, you could get rid of this thing. Then I'd be like, okay, fine. And once I'm there, they're like, oh, hey, now with your new items, you should try this test. And then you get it. Like, make it a little bit more specific, right? It's that lack of conveyance that this game has. It just literally kills you. All right, so now we're in Loompa Fortress. So you can now access the town where Isaac was headed at the beginning of the game. You can get Cloak, another amazing hidden spell to gain access. I have no idea where Cloak comes from, but you need it when you're stand in the shadows. You become invisible. Then you have to fight some, sneak past some guards, sneak past some guys, and then finally save Isaac's friend before the boss. It's a blue lizard. He was not too hard.
Yeah, kind of a little sneaky section, but I hate having to use like the hidden spells or all the spells and stuff in this game.
Yeah.
It's just like there's sometimes where you have to just like use multiple in a row, and you're just like, why are you doing this to me?
Yeah,
right now?
but I love the puzzles in this game. It's so weird. The dungeon design is really good. You have to turn invisible, and guards have lanterns, and if they shine a light on you, you see them, but like otherwise you're invisible. Cool stealth mechanic, not done horrendously, but, and that's a big but, you need to somehow get me the key items. Like, you need to somehow get me Halt. You need to get me Cloak organically throughout the experience rather than just having them be fucking random.
Well, and a lot of the times, like, this person, you talk to this person, they give you this.
Yeah.
And it's like, why can't my character just learn and grow? Like, hey, they something unlocked inside of them.
Oh my God.
And they've learned this.
Yeah. Well,
It's like, you have magic already. And these kids are naturally just, like, good at this magic. So why not just expand on that? Like, you literally have the, like, ultimate get out of jail free card. Be like, no, padding.
well, it's the whole game. The whole game, too, is everyone's like, how do you prove that these 4 kids have magic? Oh, they use magic. Oh, I guess I'll give them this.
Yes, unless it's but they use a special type of magic, not this other type of magic that exists in this world.
What's it like? Or have like a wise man like teach you a spell, something. Just like, I don't know where Cloak was, but I imagine it's in some bullshit spot. It was probably in some cave that you have to like circle around a rock 3 times to get it. I don't know. So Kayleigh Tunnel, where we're gonna head,
or like just have a store where a guy sells you these things, like they did in the first Final Fantasy. It's not hard.
Something. And then Kayleigh Tunnels. So afterwards, we like save this guy, and he's like, "Oh, now I can go to my." He's like, "I have this hidden fortress," and he goes to this little area that you couldn't gain access before. I didn't enter here, and when I left, the guard was like, "I can't let you enter," and I was like, "So I can just never go into the Kayleigh Temple and see this guy again?" Sure, why not? All right. Random question. There we go. Break up the monotony. Every 10 minutes, I have to ask this random question. So you're a promoter. All right. You're trying to start up an up-and-coming sports league in this world. Which real-life sport do you introduce? Your goal is to make the most money and based your decision on the attributes of the characters from this game.
Why don't you go first?
All right.
I have an answer in the back of my head, and I wonder if we choose the same thing.
All right, so I'm going to go with the great American sport, America's pastime, as it were, of baseball. Because baseball's kind of a boring sport, and I feel like everyone in this world is very boring. And I feel like boring people would probably like baseball. So if you introduced baseball, knowing that there are inept people, and they can do things like halt, so you can, like, use your mind powers to, like, stop the ball, smack it out of the park, right? You have catch. Lift, so you can like have these like giant magic hands grab the balls out of the air. So you can use force. You can just stand there and like use your mind to launch the ball out of the park. I think based on the limited skill set that I have and how boring everyone is, I feel like Major League Baseball could be a real winner in this game.
It's fair. They are good at swinging things. Everywhere's got a weapon shop. Mine would be soccer.
All right.
It's a pretty standard one. Not a lot, but nobody ever gets tired. You're running around constantly. Nobody ever gets tired. It's like these people got endurance for days. All right. Like everybody would just be like ripping all over the field, going a million miles a minute. And like I feel like that would be how these people spend their time playing some soccer, or football.
Cool. All right. So random questions or other midpoint questions. Yeah, do we like these ones? I don't know.
Kind of breaks it up.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. Like there's got to be a right one for. Anyway, so if you ever come up with any, feel free to like send me them and I can include them in the notes. I think it works better on a one-part show because what's the hook? Could it be a TV series? I think that's kind of more of our bread and butter rather than these like hypothetical questions. It's more on these like second parters. But again, if you have anything you're like, oh man, we should really add this in like the quarter mark of the notes, the halfway mark, I'd be more than willing because just try and break up the monotony a little bit.
Yep. And I mean, it's instead of us going from this place to this place to this place, talking a little bit about it, kind of. If you're just listening to this into a long section, hopefully it kind of breaks it up because your brain can only focus on so much.
100%. That's like going back on like there's some podcasts I'm like, I don't think I can listen to. I'm on my backlog. I think I'm stuck on one of our Pokemon, like Pokemon Gold and Silver. And I was like, it's just so long. I don't know if I want to listen to an hour and a half guys talk about Pokemon. Anyway, so now we're done. Where were we? We went to the Calais tunnels, and we're like, I guess there's nowhere to go. I guess we'll just go south. So we go to Suhala. That's south of the Colosseum. It's a desert. There's nothing to do here. Great. But the Sahala Desert is south of just that. So here you can walk around and you get stuck in a tornado. And if you use Dose, you can fight a lizard. This is a really great place to grind. I may have spent 2 weeks, a couple hours every day, slowly grinding my party up to level 27 because I heard that's like the max level you should be to beat this game. I used Djinns, then you find a Djinn, a tornado takes you to an island, and then there's some more powerful lizards and bigger tornadoes, and this is it. This is the bane of my existence in an RPG. I always Google, where do you grind? Where do you overpower? Where's the best pace to grind? I love to grind to a fault. It wrecks my enjoyment of a game. I was really struggling to finish this game at some point, where at the same time I was trying to decide if we should play the sequel. This is also where I started spamming summons to just cheese the game, so I would just preload all my Djinns on my characters, start with like my Thor summon and my big water summon, and that was just kind of, I was like, this is the key to winning this game. I'm level 27, I've got like half the Djinns, I'll just spam, what's the worst that could possibly happen?
Oh, little do you know.
The desert, did you like the desert?
It was a neat little area. I mean, again, I like desert areas, and this was like it's fun fighting the lizard, and there's tornadoes, and you can get swept away. It's kind of like a neat little gimmick. I did not grind here. Whenever I grind in games, because unfortunately, this is kind of the hard part of doing this podcast, is with RPGs is the grinding, because there's times where you just need to grind out levels. I prefer to just like, as I'm playing the game, once I kind of hit a rock where I'm starting to like lose consistently, it's like, okay, I'm going to start grinding. And then I'll just find a nearby little route and I'll just like run that back and forth between heal stations where I don't have to pay for things, or it's just, I can just spam stuff as fast as I can. Like I did this recently in Kingdom Hearts with like just ran around the Hollow Bastion from the top floor to the bottom floor. Just a bunch. And I was like, it's probably not the most efficient way of doing it, but it works for where I'm at in the game. If I don't have all the good little spots unlocked, it's like I can just quickly do this.
Interesting.
So
Cool. All right. Sweet.
Yeah.
So now if we use the tornado that sends us to the crossbow, which is a side section area. So we can use this tornado that we find, and we end up at the Crossbone Island. So we find ourselves on an island. We can use growth to find a cave where you can complete 6 out of 10 floors. You need a different spell to finish the rest of the dungeon. But that's kind of fun. Each floor you have a boss fight, really nothing overwhelming, and some puzzles. Solving the puzzles gives you an item, really nothing noteworthy on the first 5, and then on the 6th floor you get a good axe and a djinn. I didn't have haste, the spell that slows down enemies, so I actually couldn't get the djinn. So at this point I had to travel all the way back to the Vale, and then I get my 3rd ground djinn. And Isaac, who I was loading up with ground djinns, finally had his 3rd guy, and I was like, now Isaac will reach his full potential of being the rock master, because he has kind of yellow hair, which sort of looks like the ground djinn. So that's how it works, his hair color. And I'm definitely not causing myself hours of pain and suffering because I'm not putting the right djinn on the right characters, because I don't really know how that system works. So there you go, 3rd ground djinn, Isaac, pretty much overpowered. Did you do this Crossbone Island?
I did.
Did you do the whole thing?
I don't think I came back and finished it, but I definitely did this part up to get this djinn.
Perfect.
I've been trying to be pretty diligent about grabbing all the djinns, and sometimes they're like as easy, just walk up and talk to, and they join you. Sometimes it's just like prepare yourself for a battle, and you have to kill them quick. And if you don't kill them quick enough, then you have to leave the area and come back. But you know.
So on the note of djinns, they're kind of like Pokemon. You randomly see them in levels, you can battle them, they join your team. I had a point where when I was walking around looking for something, potentially going back to the Vale, I was looking for a cave because I got lost on the map, and I had 2 random water djinns just attack me, and when I beat them, they joined my team. So somewhere along the line, I had missed them, and I wonder if they were one-off sections where I had missed the djinns, and the game just kind of like randomly pushes them into your party.
I don't know. I could see that as a nice bonus feature in case you miss them, so you don't have to go literally to be like, track down a list of all the djinns, but B, like, figure out where they are and what you need to do to defeat them, and then go do it. It's like, it's nice that they just kind of like random encounter it. Like, I know how in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, when you unlock a character, it'll be like, oh, a new challenger approaches. But like, if you lose that battle, it's just in the options under like unlock a new challenger. You can just go do that.
Yeah, that's nice. So. Yeah, it's nice. All right, so Crossbones Island Part 2, we didn't do. You have to come back after you get a spell, maybe, lift, carry. I didn't do it. So then we get to go to, at the end of the desert, if you just go through normally, you get chased by big, very scary lizard and tornado. Very tough. He beat me, so I just ran away from him. We get to go to the Sahala Gate. So there are some guards down. You find a djinn. There's some dialogue and some battles, neither of which I cared about. Kind of sums up this game. I didn't even read a side note. I just moved on to the next area. Anything about the Salhalla Gate that you're like, this is it, the definitive moment in this video game?
No, just another like transition scene.
Perfect. All right, so we have 3 sections left, and then we're done. How exciting. And you're like, but you guys actually didn't really talk about anything, and like, I don't really understand the story. Exactly.
That's the issue.
That's the issue. All right, so we get to go to the Venus Lighthouse. And we're like, oh, we're at a lighthouse. Have we not been to a lighthouse in a while? I think we've been to the Mercury Lighthouse and the Venus Lighthouse, and apparently there's 4 lighthouses, so pretty exciting. We only have 2 more to go after this. So you find some guards who have been jacked up. You have to find Carry. There's a spell called Carry. It's hidden here. If you don't, it sucks. You have to talk to a statue, and then it like lights up. Don't forget this. Anyone who's ever thinking of playing this game, me in the future, me in the past, don't forget this, or I have to come back. So I didn't know that. And I ran around to the next area for hours. Got frustrated, hated my life. Great, cool. Venus Lighthouse. Did you remember what to do?
Yeah, I was watching a guide while I was playing this.
Smart.
So
all right, cool.
that's
stupid.
Necessary information.
All right, so the next area, so Laverio. So this is the final town. You can find a djinn, there's some armor, and you can stock up at local shops. I found out that some of the shops have key items and weapons under the artifact tab. So when you go to the weaponsmith, if you say, hey, what kind of artifacts you have? All of the key items that potentially you missed over, you can just pay for. And because I did so much grinding in the desert, I had tons of cash. I recommended upgrading all my characters fully. I put all the best stuff on them. I do wonder, though, if early on I had watched H.C. Bailey play this game. if he would have explained more of the secrets, explained how this game played, I would have a better time with this game. So I wonder if my ignorance caused my frustrations.
I don't think
Oh, okay.
so. Like, this game, it's every part is just has poor conveyance of what you're anticipating, what you should do, what you need to do, what's coming up next, because you apparently have to anticipate, know what's coming beforehand. But at the same time, you also, like, equipment doesn't matter, like, pretty standard RPG stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, your disposition to, like, other RPGs is, like, colored your mind of what you should do, and that's not what you should do. And yeah, it's still like spammy and grindy and lots of dialogue, but nothing happens.
I do wonder if like there's something, because I won lots of my battles via summons, did I get less experience or something like that? Because I looked at HC Bailey's team, who's at like level 27, so I was actually in front of him at this point. Like I'm like close to level 30 at this point, and he had like double or triple the health power on his character. So I did something wrong where I buggered up my team's stats and did not like it too much. So
he might have also grinded out some good equipment, because equipment matters, weapons barely matter.
Great. Well, I was making sure I had spent all my money on the the weapons, not the armor. So
Yeah, like I said, typical RPG stuff,
Yeah.
and you're just like, oh, I shouldn't do that? And you're like, yes. And you're like, well, shoot.
Yeah. And then finally, the final area. Here we go. So we're at the Babby Lighthouse. I don't know who Babby is. Maybe he was the guy who like needed the tonic at some point and apparently has his own lighthouse. Cool. So you can move some rocks, you can find the final djinn, and then you can enter the final dungeon. So you can follow one of two paths. So that statue we touched in the Venus Lighthouse gives us one of two paths. Solve some puzzles before ascending to the final area. Here we see the bad green guy and the two bad color people. They talk, we fight. The first boss is Satros and Minardi. If you follow the strategy where you have one person heal everyone, you have someone buff up your attacks, and then you have probably like Isaac and Garrett just attack. It should be really, really easy. I think I beat them once out of like 9 attempts with just spamming my summons, but they would like sometimes kill me in like 1 or 2 attacks, and I was like, I wonder what I'm doing wrong. Wondering what I did wrong. So, how did you find Satros and Minardi?
I think because that's just the pattern, it's so monotonous and everybody has so much health.
Yeah.
And they do so much damage and you barely have anything and you feel like you're scratching away at them. It just takes a long time and you're just like 1 or 2 people attack, maybe 1 if you're being extra cautious, and then you just have people heal, some people buff, and it's just like repeat. Or if you use a certain spell, like their attacks just don't even hit. It's brutal. And you're just like, okay, so I'm just gonna keep spamming this for forever, and they're like, yes.
Yeah. So
Like, okay.
I have a confession to make at this point. My strategy up until this point in this game, I did not look into strategies. I think I played this game completely wrong. So I had Isaac, my main character, my main party member. Is his name Isaac? Yeah, Isaac and Ivan. Those are stupid names. Isaac have all my grounds. So he had my ground attacks, and he was my ground attacker. Garrett was my flame attacker. I had Ivan use wind power, so he had all the wind djinns, and then I had Mai with the water. So apparently if you equip djinns in certain ways, you can learn spells like growth. I never had growth on any of my party by default. I had to like randomly trade them around until someone would just pop it up. So I actually didn't look into like how to grow your character properly. So I was playing like, let's say there's 3 or 4 levels. I was playing with at least like level 2. Like Mai was like a magic or like a wizard, like step 2 of 5. So if I would have just organized, and again, watching HC Bailey, he has them all kind of nicely laid out, or I went and looked up like the best djinn strategies. Mai apparently is supposed to have like a spell that heals your entire party like really early on. I never had that. There's like buff up attacks, there's like special magic attacks. I was playing this game completely wrong. All I did was just reorganize my djinns around. I was then able to heal everyone with one go round. I was then able to like buff my characters up. I was able to then attack. The game became so damn easy, and I was just playing it incorrectly. So I actually almost quit because I couldn't beat the Fusion Dragon. I only got to the final boss, which is what happens. So Satros and Morandi, when they die, they like fuse together and they become this big dragon. And I couldn't do it. So following the aforementioned strategy of just one person heal everyone, one person buff you up, one person take care of statuses, and then like 2 people attack every turn, super easy. You win. As long as you keep your MP up. I might have ran out of MP at some point, but again, not bad. I almost quit this game. My first strategy was just use summons. Makes it really, really hard. I don't know if you can beat the game that wrong. So I was playing this game unintentionally wrong. So I'm like, most of my frustrations in this game, I wonder how much of it could have been resolved had I just like known where spells were and how to properly organize my characters.
Yep. Well, and I think but it's an honest mistake to fall under because it's never really explicitly like they say, oh, experiment them. It's like, I'm not going to go through every bloody variation to just maybe stumble upon something. You're just going to find what's convenient and what 100%. Works.
It's like when I play Pokemon. I don't put new
I feel
Pokemon
like a lot of
team.
people are going to fall. Yeah. I feel like a lot of people are just going to default to like, hey, you're this ailment. I'm going to give you this gin. And that's just how it should have been. Yeah. And, when you unlock a thing for somebody, it should just unlock for everybody. But it's so goofy. I don't understand what they were thinking, and if they spent this much time talking, you would think that this much time on dialogue could have been spent somewhere else, like maybe making an actual proper tutorial system, or having some like a wizard somewhere where you could just refer to and have them like, hey, how do I learn these spells? Like, how do I do this? Like, oh, if you combine these gens, you get this.
Well, the problem is,
and it's like, oh, okay.
The game looks nice. They do good with the visuals. And they could have done more from a visual story point of view rather than just text-based, but they opted just for the mostly text-based. And as Tyson said, there's no proper tutorials or tells you how to do stuff. So you fight the Fusion Dragon, I couldn't beat him. Like, I was done. I was like, I'm just going to watch someone else beat him and then just claim I beat this game. So I just changed up my strategy and like one thing, and I was like, I hate this game. Great. Awesome. So, but that ends this game. So... You're like, oh, it seems like, did you win? You're like, no, because then the green guy, who's like maybe your friend, and the girl falls off the tower, and you remain on the tower, and then it just repairs itself. And then several time units later, you are exhausted and you set off on a boat. Meanwhile, the green guy, the girl, and an old guy wake up on a beach, and there's credits. So, all right.
Yeah, and that's how it ends. And you're like, but there was no resolution. We just maybe took care of like so-and-so minority. Like, it's
maybe, but like maybe they're also like your friends in the next game, and like something like there's supposed to be a bunch of lighthouses. I only remember going to 2. Maybe Babby's lighthouse counts as one, so like maybe 3, but I think we only went to 2 of Venus and the Mercury lighthouse. That means there's 2 other lighthouses in the world, and the bad guys still have 2 gems of the 4 that we're trying to like. Remember the big eye thing that was talking to us? What was that about?
I don't know.
Okay, cool.
I don't know.
So like that's how we have to end this podcast. And to me, that's almost why I'm like, so there's a very complicated password. It's called a gold level password. It's 100 characters. It's super tedious to plug in, but you can get everything you want. You can unlock a game with like max stats on your characters, the best gear, all the gins unlocked, and that exists, and we can access it. And we could get a copy of Golden Sun. The second one, we could put that code in and have our team super buffed up and not have to worry about grinding, and like now we know what the strategy is, and like would we enjoy this game? And I'm tempted to make us play this game now based on that premise, because otherwise this is like one of the most unsatisfying podcasts I've ever done in my whole life. As an standalone game is awful.
Yeah, and I mean with this poor of a resolution of the ending, like when it ended I was like, really? Like that's how we're finishing this? Mm-hmm. Seriously? I was just like, okay, great. Way to just not nail an ending. And a part of me just says, like, why give more time to this game? But you know what? That's literally the point of the podcast.
Yeah.
So I think, like, before we even started, I thought we were doing 2 of these games in one episode. So knowing that we at least get to spread this out over a little bit, it's like, okay, it makes this a lot more manageable. And we should probably just finish this, because I hear there's a 3rd one, but we probably don't even need to play it. So
yeah. Anyways, that's our experience with the Golden Sun series. It was very anticlimactic. It was just kind of painful throughout. It kind of slowed down our podcast production to a whole. Or to a halt, sorry, to a halt.
Yeah.
Current thoughts on this fun game. So this game's conveyance was awful. They talked too much. I didn't read anything. The Jin system wasn't explained. You have these like magical key items that should be treated like the hookshot. There should be a big chest. You get them. You get to go do something cool with them. Great, awesome. They didn't have that. I love parts of this game though. I love the shops. The shops are done so well. Like buying gear is so streamlined. Hey, if you missed something, you missed a special item. Guess what? End of the game, you can just buy it. It's just going to cost you some money, right? Like it's not a big deal. You can move on. Awesome game experience from that point of view. Everything else was done just horrendously. Oh, and the levels. The dungeons were actually really fun and like solving the puzzles, and like once I had a spell, I was like, oh cool. I enjoyed using them. I loved the dungeons in this game. I loved using the spells to solve puzzles. It was Zelda Light. It was super fun. Like there's that one level with like the train car and you have to like lower level or like lower water and then like make an ice spiral so your like little cart will make a jump. Awesome. Just absolutely top notch. But sometimes I didn't have magical spells. Like I said, growth. So you have to use growth to make vines grow up walls so you can climb up them. My characters never had growth. Like I had to like randomly turn things on and off with my Jins because the system is broken. So conveyance, story, Jin system, horrendous. But the shops and the dungeons are so amazing. Like I kind of want to play it again, but I don't. I'm very conflicted by this game. Tyson, what are your current thoughts on this experience?
It's boring.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the worst thing a video game can do is it just be boring. Where it's all just fetch quests.
Yeah.
It's fetch questing. And I feel and I'll save it for what would I change, but my current thoughts are just it's so lackluster and hollow where I feel like there's something here and that's why we're going back and playing this game. But it leaves a lot to be desired when in its current execution.
Yeah. So like Tyson alluded to, what would I change? So Tyson, what would you change?
I would strip this game down a bit.
Yeah.
I would limit it to about 4 spells. I would have it quick selectable with like you hold the button instead of just pressing the button for the quick thing. Just have it just like hold it and then you can just press on the D-pad what you need. Just have it just 4. Anyone can use them. When one person learns a skill, they all learn it. It's so like just have that carryover. Make it super approachable. Because I would say lean more on the heavy of the Legend of Zelda aspect, where instead of spreading out this place over a whole world, it's like shrink the world. Give me a continent to run around on. Give me distinct towns to visit. Because if we are going to be doing backtracking, I don't want to have to backtrack across the entire world. But in my mind, running from somewhere like in Link to the Past, running from like the Lost Woods to and like somewhere like the desert in the south takes a while, but like it's not painful.
Well, it's fun.
It's kind of enjoyable to run around, and then give me a quick travel system with like a button. And instead of having all these, let me have Jins and have them unlock like summons, but also like magical spells. And it's like just have them super easy. It's like
how many?
If you're Venus ones work best with you, but if someone else can use them, if they're just not, they just don't get a bonus. They don't get the 2 times damage bonus or 2 times healing bonus. Simplify.
How many Jins did you end up with?
Oh man, I thought I had like maybe 6 or 5 or 6 per person. It was a lot.
Yeah, I had about the same. I think the most I had was 6, 5, 5, and 5 or something. So I wasn't like that far off. But I had a point. What was my point? I was going to ask you about that. No, it's gone. Yeah. All right, cool. What would I change? I don't know. Give it some convenience, talk less, use more visuals to explain your story. They're killing me. It just, yeah. Like, I think we've done a good job being like, this game like has potential and we like this one part, but everything else is done terribly. And that's just this game, right? So.
Yeah. Or, you know what's even fun? It's like, I get that we have a group of 4. It's like, have it 4 selectable or 3 selectable like people and you can choose your buddy.
Great. There you go. I don't know. Something with like execution, ambition. I'll give it very high ambition score, execution, terrible score. So I don't know.
But it's a problem when you have high ambition.
Yes.
Is sometimes you have harder to fall.
100%. And that's me in a nutshell. This game is basically my life. I'm very ambitious. I have tons of hopes and dreams, tons of little plots and schemes. I don't really follow through all the time, though. So there you go. So basically, I'm the golden son of people. Are you buying it? Even though I hated this game, I feel like we should play this game maybe for next February. That is, are you buying that, Tyson?
Well, I think we've already said we are.
Yeah,
so.
but like, I'm surprised. Had I not mentioned it before, and that's when I should have dropped it. I should have been like, we should play the sequel. You've been like, but we hated this game. I'm like, yeah, but I need to know. Like,
I think we every so often we'll just be like, I feel the need to play this
Yeah.
game. For me, it was Mystical Ninja on the Super Nintendo. For some reason, I'm like, yeah, this game's got to be on the list.
We have
Gotta do it.
have to do this. We have to.
it.
We couldn't possibly just get to Mystical Ninja starring Gomon for this N64, which is like a nostalgia thing that we played. We have to play the sequel or the prequel to it, so we know where it came from.
Yeah, exactly. It's like sometimes we just like force ourselves into like just for the sake of the podcast, like because we want to be thorough.
Yeah.
We don't want to like skimp over things. That's why we don't just be like, this is the story, and then just talk about random parts that we liked. Like, we actually kind of do you do the hard work of actually writing out like the level notes, which is essentially just like it's an audio let's play.
Yes.
So hopefully people enjoy that.
And that's the whole podcast. We tried to break it up as much as we could. We knew this podcast was going to be a bit of a drag. Maybe one of our least best shows we've ever. Hey, I got a new show to add to my one of my worst games we ever played. It was Golden Sun. Cool, great. Cultural significance, and then we'll end this affair. Actually, we only got like 30 minutes, so we can take some time, but not too much time. Cultural significance. So in this section, we look at. No, we don't. We do not look at any of these things. Game tropes, marketing tactics, interesting stories. Talk about how this game relates, give other examples, and tie it all back together in the end. I think it's just that one part I have to change, but I'm not going to. So I was going to pull up all of the summons / enemies and discuss where they came from in pop culture and like, do one of those historical things where I'm like, oh, here's a cool story about Thor because he was a summon, but that'd be educational. I am now stupider from playing bad game that you get a worse Podtendo game I have ever played tournament. I was going to do a side about Jin, but I wasn't going to add anything you can't find on Wikipedia. And you haven't went to the Jin wiki page before now. So why would I force you to listen to me read about them with little to no research? You wouldn't. That's why I'm going to do this tournament. Yes, I know we did this on the last podcast, but I liked it. So
I like how you're like, I'm gonna try to write this as dumbly as I can.
Yeah, well, because I am now stupider from playing bad games. So this is what you're getting. Golden Sun wrecked the quality of our podcast. So what I did was I went and I told Tyson, come up with your top 8 worst games you've ever played on Podtendo. We're gonna turn them into a tournament bracket. They're gonna play off. I've got 4 divisions, and then we're gonna battle them out. I'm gonna pick Tyson's gonna pick mine, and then we're gonna see what is the worst game we've ever played in a tournament format. So I'm gonna start out in the Virtua Boy division. So this is for Tyson. So you're gonna get the 1 and 8 and 4 and 5 playing off in the Virtua Boy to see who goes to the final 4. So starting off, number 1 worst game series is Ghosts and Goblins / Super Ghouls and Ghosts playing off against the number 8 seed Sonic 1. So of those 2 games, Tyson, which is the worst?
Easily Ghosts and
All right,
Goblins.
so
Sonic 1's not great, but Ghosts and
all right,
Goblins.
yeah, I kind of figured that one. So they advance to the next round. Then you get to pick the 4-5 matchup. So the Contra series. I hate Contra games. They suck. Versus, we have a playing game. So you have to decide who plays them. So from our summer blockbuster trilogy, do you get Top Gun, Jaws, or Ghostbusters? So which of those 3 games wins the playing game, and who plays Contra? And does it even matter?
Oh man, I think we might have an upset here. Because Jaws was mediocre.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters is painful. And Top Gun is literally unplayable.
Yes.
I can at least play some Contra.
Okay. All right.
So Contra is playable. Therefore, it's the summer blockbusters.
Oh, but you have
games.
to pick one. So they're in a playoff. So
Oh.
who gets into the tournament?
I'm gonna actually between Ghostbusters and Top Gun. Ghostbusters, Top Gun. I think I gotta go with Top
Right.
Gun because it's barely a game.
Yeah.
At least in Ghostbusters, there's other things to struggle with. Like and you can kind of make progress. Top Gun is literally like fly around, try to shoot thing, and then fail at landing.
All right, so we have in the Elite Eight. Well, maybe we'll go through this in actual tournament format. So, Ghosts and Goblins, the Super Ghouls and Ghosts, is going up against Top Gun in the Virtual Boy division to see who's the winner of that. So, Tyson, give me your 1-8 matchup. And you in the Wii U division. So these are worst video game consoles, by the way. So
why don't let's finish your bracket, and then I'll run through mine. Then we'll do the semifinals. Then we can do finals.
All right. So in the PS Vita division, we've got our 2-7 matchup. The Secret of Mana playing the 2 seed playing up against the 7 seed Kid Icarus. Of those two, which is the worst game?
Ooh, Secret of Mana is super overrated and bad. Yeah. And Kid Icarus is a game, but I think I had more fun with Secret of Mana. I mean, this might be a little bit of another upset, but yeah, Kid Icarus is just the worst thing.
It wasn't great. Secret of Mana, though, I actually hate. And anyone that says they like it, like, I almost need you to create a video. Create a YouTube retrospective, a podcast. Come and defend your stance, because Secret of Mana, my game, it like makes society worse for existing. That's how I feel about it. So, but I'll give it to Kid Icarus. All right, so Kid Icarus is on to the Elite Eight in the Wii. Where are we at? The PS Vita division. All right, so now I've got my 3 and 6 seed. So number 3, I've got Final Fantasy VIII. Again, if you like this game, you have to explain yourself because it's just so bad. Versus. That's the 3 seed versus the 6 seed, and it's a play-in. We have Earthworm Jim / Battletoads. Neither game is like inherently the worst game. They're just really difficult, and like difficult for difficult's sake. So between Earthworm Jim and Battletoads, which is the worst game? And then the winner of that, or the worst game, has to then play Final Fantasy VIII. It doesn't even matter.
Gotcha. So Earthworm Jim is kind of frustrating. Well, very frustrating. Yep. And it's about you get 2-3 levels in, and you're like, well, that's it. I'm done. Battletoads, however, is one of those games where I had to abuse rewind situations and save states like I've never had to use in the past. That game was painful to get a good, like, I didn't finish it, but I got a good ass way through. It's like, it's that game for sure. Against Final Fantasy VIII, but Final Fantasy VIII is the worst game. It's so bad. It wins. We went off on it, and it deserves it because that game is just bad. And if you like it, I think you have to add the caveat is like, is this your first Final Fantasy game? If yes, then it's like, hey, rose tinted glasses. Can you be unbiased and tell me that this is the best battle mechanic of all the games?
I don't. Yeah. Again, it's one of those things, like, I need to hear, like, I almost can't accept that answer that you like Final Fantasy VIII that much. I need you to, like, defend yourself because, like, I think you've committed an actual, like, hate crime against video games. All right. So we have Kid Icarus playing the 7 seed, playing Final Fantasy VIII, and that is the PS Vita division. So let's jump on to Tyson's side. So we're in the Wii U division. Tyson, what is your 1-8 matchup?
My 1-8 matchup is Ghosts and Goblins and Kid Icarus.
Ooh. Of those two, which would I... Kid Icarus, the thing that I hate the most is when you move up and a platform disappears and like the screen doesn't scroll down. I think if you change that, I would actually probably go back and play Kid Icarus, but I just know that I hate that game mechanic. But Ghosts and Goblins, Super Ghouls and Ghosts is such a grueling, hard experience just to be hard's sake. And even like in the sequel. And I have this weird spot because it was like a game, like my mom rented it and like we sat and played it. So like I have this weird soft spot, but like, yeah, I think Ghosts and Goblins, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, you are advancing. So you're the 1 seed for a reason. So G and G. Yep. All right. So what is your 4-5 matchup in the Wii U division?
You got Secret of Mana going up against ActRaiser.
The ActRaiser. Yeah, ActRaiser was not great. I don't know why we played it. It was not fun, but
people kept saying it's the best.
People just like loved it so much. All right, so we are going to get. It was my number 2 seed. It's your number 4 seed. Secret of Mana. It was the fact that it's people are like, oh, it is such a good RPG. No, it's not. It's awful. You have to like scroll through the weapons, and like certain weapons work here, and like it doesn't. The items menu system is just absolutely disgustingly broken, and there's like no world map, and I never know where I'm at, and like.
Do you have 3 people to play on a 2-person console?
Yeah.
Because that's how our game was designed, and you're like, no, this is terrible.
It was bad. It was like really, really painful. I hated it. And even like the world map, like, oh, now you're on a dragon, and you have to go to this, like, you don't know where to go, but like, oh, you know that mountain? If you didn't look, there's a little town there, and if you don't go there, you don't get this like magical band that opens this next thing. And I was like, no, it sucks. I hate it so much. So Secret of Mana, good job. You are in the Elite 8. All right, so into the Xbox 360 division. And you're like, whoa, the Xbox 360. You're like listing the worst consoles. We got Virtual Boy, PS Vita, Wii U, Xbox 360. Why would I claim the Xbox 360 as one of the worst consoles?
Reliability.
So
the red ring of death. Is that it?
So it's kind of a twofold attack. So the hardware itself wasn't great. It was mass produced. It wasn't quality. It was quality or quantity, not quality. As well as like there was just so many of them produced. There's no retail market. If you have a big Xbox 360 collection, it's worth nothing. It's worth less than what you bought it for, right? Which like Nintendo at least has cachet to it, as well as it. What's the word I want to say? It's normalized gaming.
I would have went with the original Xbox, because the Xbox 360 did sell really well.
Yeah, but because it
did outsell the PS3.
100%.
But it hardware-wise, it's a train
It also
wreck.
mainstreamed video gaming to now everyone can play video games because of the 360, because it was so accessible. And I think what it's done is it's actually I think it's set the video game market, because think of all these, every game that comes out now has a troubled release. Like it's rushed. They don't have enough game development. They throw patches on it. And in my mind, lots of that came from the Xbox 360 world, where they made everything super mainstream. It's not super nichey, and they kind of changed the business poorly. And I think if you were to look at like the PlayStation 3, I think still has some cachet, right? There's some like notable experiences. The Xbox 360 in my mind didn't give us anything super unique, right?
No love for Halo from Mick.
No, like outside of Halo though, like if it was just
because Xbox Live and Halo 3 defined like online first-person
well, the
shooters.
fact that Xbox now has a Game Pass and you can just buy a subscription and you can just download and play all these old games, and like it's not a good look. And now other people are trying to emulate them. Like PlayStation has some stupid PlayStation Plus, and Nintendo has all these stupid Super Nintendo Online. So they're all trying to emulate what Microsoft did with their service during the 360 era, which I think really, really set back the video game market and put it in a place I don't like. So that's why I'm throwing shade at the Xbox 360.
That's fair.
Because like too many casuals now play video games, and they're like,
you sound like such like no, how dare you, like a gatekeeper. It's like, no, gaming's for everybody. It's always been for everybody.
The fact that Call of Duty and FIFA are these big things, I'm like, no, we need better video games, guys. Come on.
I agree. We definitely need better video games and games that aren't just have like yearly releases. But I'll argue against. Like Game Pass is awesome because it's like when you're a kid, we had access to going into a Blockbuster. Blockbuster doesn't exist anymore, so game rentals are just gone.
I also think Blockbuster.
Like you can't just go on like Xbox. You can't just go on Xbox Live and be like, "Hey, can I rent this game for this weekend?" No, people want it's the Netflix models. You want to be able to just subscribe to it, play it casually, which is great. Like I mean, for $15, if there's a game on there that you wanted to play, it's pretty nice because some games even day and day launch where they're just like, "Hey, it launched, it's on there." Like Turtles in Time, not Turtles in Time, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge was day one with that. It's a $30 game. So if you can either play it and enjoy that experience that you're probably never going to play ever again, unless you're a hardcore Turtles fan, and then you can just forget about it as much as you would do with a rental. But we just don't have rentals. They're just gone. And this just fills that. But I think
I would.
And I'm like, you know what?
I would like to change the service, though, to everything's free. Everything you can play 30 minutes of any game you want for free. If you want to continue, then you have to pay for it. That's how it should work. It should almost be like old school PlayStation demo discs. That's the world I want to live in. So you have to make quality games. You can't just produce shit and expect to make money off of it. Everything in theory should be free to everyone. You can play any game you want.
Or the first 30 minutes of every game is going to be amazing, and then
it sucks afterwards.
It
okay,
just
all right,
drops
okay,
off.
so it's not going to work. Anyways,
So it's not a perfect
we technically
world,
have a time limit, so let's not get hung up on Xbox 360.
Okay.
I mean, I also own like 4 Xbox 360s in a box, so it's not like I haven't like...
Hey, same here, and I've had 7 of them, and I had warranty issues with all of them. So I'll be the first to say that hardware was a huge is garbage. They should have fixed it,
and they got away with it. So anyway, so what is your 2-7?
3 to 6.
No, we need
2 to 7. So that's Final Fantasy 8 and Battletoads.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna just echo your sentiments. Final Fantasy 8. Why do you like this game? What's your 3-6?
I got the Summer of Blockbusters, so that's your Top Gun, Jaws, Ghostbusters. Which one of those 3 is? That's my 3 seed. That's your play-in versus Castlevania 2.
Ooh, yeah, we're gonna see an upset. I think we're gonna see Ghostbusters move on. I don't know if I like Castlevania 2 or not, but I probably didn't. All right, cool. So now we have our matchup set. So let's go back to my Virtua Boy. And we're going to have Ghosts and Goblins versus Top Gun.
I despise Ghosts and Goblins. So it's got to go on the finals.
Final 4.
Top Gun's unplayable, but Ghosts and Goblins is worse.
So then we have Kid Icarus versus Final Fantasy 8.
Gotta go with that Final Fantasy 8. It's
Final
awful.
Fantasy 8. And then we're going to jump over to the Wii U division, where I have Ghosts and Goblins versus Secret of Mana. Secret of Mana is actually upsetting this one. So we have a 4 seed in our finals here.
Wow. This is a big upset. Then we got Ghosts and Goblins versus Final Fantasy 8.
Ghostbusters versus Final Fantasy 8.
Ghostbusters. Right,
we're going to go because...
I was trying to give Ghosts and Goblins another chance.
Maybe they suck. They took out Ghostbusters. Like, screw you. What's the worst game out of those 2? Yeah, we'll do Final Fantasy 8. All right, so Final Fantasy 8.
So Final Fantasy 8 wins this division, or wins?
They
this
win
side?
the PS 360 or the 360 division winner is Final Fantasy 8. So we have 2 Final Fantasy 8s, a Ghosts and Goblins, and a Secret of Mana. So we're gonna play them off. Tyson, worst game, Final Fantasy 8 or Ghosts and Goblins?
Oh man, I have to go with Final Fantasy 8 as well. It's so bad.
Really bad.
Because it also just tarnished my love for a big franchise. You're like, I forgave Final Fantasy 10. I forgave 10 too. Now playing Final Fantasy 8, it's like you stab me in the back.
So then on my,
I've been defending you for years.
Well, that's the thing. And I've been like, oh, Final Fantasy is great. Final Fantasy 8 sucks. And I was like, no, you just don't understand it. But I understand it now, and I hate it. Okay. So then in my terms, I have Secret of Mana and Final Fantasy 8. I think I hate Secret of Mana more. Like, Secret of Mana is just thinking about it upsets me.
Oh, boom.
So instead of having...
That's fair. I was going to say the best part of that is the artwork from the Nintendo Power. That is that's the best part of the game. You don't even need to play the game. Just look up the images of that Nintendo Power magazine.
Way better.
You've experienced everything that's good.
Way better. All right. So then I guess ultimately the finals of this tournament are Final Fantasy 8. Could have been Final Fantasy 8 versus Final Fantasy 8, which would have been fun. I should have done that. Maybe they just cancel each other out and we just pretend like we never played it. But I didn't do that, so we have Final Fantasy 8 versus Secret of Mana. Well, I think I already know how a Final Fantasy 8 versus Secret of Mana matchup would play in my books. So Tyson, between those 2 games, what would you choose as the worst game?
I despise Final Fantasy 8.
All right.
So I have to. So I think I don't know. Do we split?
No. You
this?
get the final. You get the final decider. This is your game. You get to play. So.
Fair enough. I'm happy Secret of Mana made it to the finals, but because that game is also garbage. But I think I can no longer say Ghosts and Goblins is one of the worst games I've ever played.
It could be kind of fun and quirky. If I threw on my Super Nintendo Mini and played it for 20 minutes, I'd be like, okay, cool. I'll move on with my life. I could never ever do that with Final Fantasy 8 and been like, that was an enjoyable experience. What part of it would be fun?
Yeah. Well, I just think time to completion.
Yeah.
Enjoyment for completion. Final Fantasy 8 is a slog for 30 hours. Ghosts and Goblins is until I get 3 deaths, and then I'm like, well, that was fun.
Exactly, and you can move on. If you told me that you played Ghosts and Goblins every Saturday morning, you woke up and you played for 30 minutes, I'd be like, Oh, okay, cool. Weird, but that's cool. If you told me that every Saturday morning you started a new file of Final Fantasy VIII and you just had memory cards and memory cards on shelves of like games that you had started and you played for 30 minutes, like you'd actually be a crazy person because you can't just pick it up and play it. You have to like complete it. And because of that, it definitely is the worst game. So there you go. Final Fantasy VIII, you are the worst experience. And I think that's why this marks whatever year they're in, 2022, might be the year of the worst games ever on Podtendo. So way to go. Way to kick it off, Final Fantasy VIII.
Yeah, we nailed it. But you know what? We got to rip that Band-Aid off, and next year we'll have a sweet, sweet return to glory. And I cannot wait for it. That one I've been looking forward to. No, I told you. I have it.
Season 9. We play Final Fantasy 9 in Season 9. We don't play it next year. We play it the year afterward.
Next year. If you're making me play Golden Sun, I gotta balance this with a good RPG. Maybe we play Kingdom Hearts and throw in a real big audible in this. All right,
mix. I would not be against that. That'd be kind of fun. So cool. So with that ends our Golden Sun Part 2. It was a thing. Hopefully, I didn't even bring it. Like sometimes we bring energy and I make funny things. Like I laughed at that, like your Buffalo Bill gentleman comment, and then there's a funny song.
That was like, very funny.
It makes me chuckle. I was like, I enjoyed this. I don't think I enjoyed any part of this like recording. No offense. Like it wasn't you. It was the game.
Yeah. No. Okay. No. It's it's same thing. I've been dreading this one, and we've just been like kicking the can down the road. We haven't even scheduling recording this. We're just like. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, like this is one of the times that we're recording. Literally, it comes out next week. We're recording it like less than a week before. That hasn't happened in probably years for this podcast. To be perfectly honest, we usually are on the ball. It like stopped us dead. But on the plus side, Scary Spooky Month is only literally a day away when you hear this. Yeah, tomorrow. Tomorrow's. Oh,
it's gonna be good. It's gonna be so good, and that is that like this. I find like Spooky Scary Month is like a highlight of the year for us. So I can't wait. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We got some big stuff planned. It's gonna be good. And we're definitely gonna have some good music to add to all their like upcoming podcasts for Halloween.
Sweet. So. Cool. So that's Golden Sun. You sucked. We're gonna give you another chance though, because we're masochists here, apparently. So good job us. So cool. Did we miss anything?
We could probably went into it more, but I don't think this game deserves it. It left us with a cheap ending, so let's. I'm not going to give its fair due. That's
awesome.
Fair.
Good. I guess we'll say bye, so we can actually have an ending to our show, unlike this game. So, with that, bye, and see you guys in a couple weeks for Scary Spooky Month. Bye.